Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. Rest assured, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight. On top of this, I also do a twice-a-week long-form interview podcast where I only speak with transportation professionals, you guys. That's all who I feature on all of my content, you guys, because at the end of the day, I hate theory. I want to bring information and advice that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business from life by people who have actually done those jobs before. It's also one of the many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. Not only is this the greatest nation on earth, but I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you guys live your American dream as well. Got a solo show today that we're going to be breaking down a couple of articles. I'm going to do my lane analysis for you guys as well. But before we do any of that, you guys, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And the best part about what they have on there, you guys, especially if you're a small fleet or an owner operator, is you get paid to move these trailers. That's right. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading this trailer out. So with what they're working on right now, you guys, is they have St. Cloud, Minnesota, going over to Mississauga, Ontario. There's a reefer. And then they also have more reefers down in Mason City, Iowa, going to Mississauga. And with both of these, go to vhubapp.com and put your offer in on their website. They also have a van in Paragould, Arkansas, looking to go to Orting, Washington, and that's $1,550 US to move that. And then they have Milton, Ontario to Moncton, New Brunswick. You get 400 Canadian to move that. And then they also have Winnipeg, Manitoba to Vaughan, Ontario. You get 500 Canadian to do that. And then they also have some trailers over in Toronto and Montreal needing to go down to Maryland, New York, or Pennsylvania with it. And then you can reach out directly to Stacy Steen on that. So you guys hit him up, vhubapp.com. Xavier Campos, he'll be in the audience. Stacy Steen, reach out to her direct, and they can definitely help you with any of that. April Maroney, good morning. Let's fucking go. It's a great day to onboard. Amen to that. Good morning. Good Monday morning to all. Let's fucking go, Orange Shirt Gang. That's from Sonny Sharma. Nathan, watching over on YouTube. Top Freight News. Good fucking morning, Freight Nation. He's got that American flag in that comment. I love seeing that. I love it. We are also at day 211 of the Freight Coach Tally, which for those of you out there, the Freight Coach Tally is every single time that we've gone live so far. So this is the 211th live show, but it's also the reminder that there is a truck parking issue as well as a facilities issue in this industry. You know, our drivers don't have access to showers, parking, food, for all of that. You know, so again, you guys, I'm going to bring this up every single day until there's meaningful change out there, because I don't do this for vanity metrics. I don't do this to get as much likes as possible out there. I only do this to see meaningful change in this industry. I come from the industry. I come from a family of truck drivers. I still have family driving right now. So I'm very tuned into that, you know. And I was talking to a family member of mine last night, and he's out on the road right now, and you know, he's just again talking about truck parking and stuff like that, and where he's located and everything. And you know, it's a real issue out there. And then what they're up against while they get to truck stops and everything else. And you know, again, I know that this has been around for a while, but you know, the things that go on out on the road and the reality of it is, you know, I hear the truth because I talk to drivers, and that's the beauty of talking to drivers and having family members that drive is I hear the unfiltered truth about what's going on out there. So that's why I'm going to bring and continue to bring this stuff up all the time, you guys, because this shit can't happen. If we're going to continue to evolve and move forward as an industry, this stuff can't progress. I mean, why would anybody want to do this job if they got to be put through what some of this stuff is? You know, again, as a broker, as somebody who owns a freight brokerage, I take a lot of this stuff seriously, and I apply it into my operations because, again, I'm a concierge service for my carrier partners. At the end of the day, I need to know where the nearest truck stop is for you guys to go to, food, resources, stuff like that. I want to have my team equipped with all of this stuff. So if and when you guys call in, we got answers for you. we're behind a computer. Like we can work together. I respect what you guys go through out on the road, and my team is going to respect you when you call in on my freight, and we're going to be there to work with you. All right. So that's what we're going to do out there. Also, subtle reminder to you guys that diesel is still at $4.60 a gallon. It is up 82 cents a gallon year over year. And again, I get this information from the EIA, you guys, EIA.gov, and that will be updated later on today. So we'll see which direction that changed as a whole. So again, yeah, that's stuff I bring up every day. Robert Peterson, says VHub is a great platform that uses technology to make everything super easy. I appreciate that. Nikolai, he says, good morning. Nikolai, I'm sorry, man. Namchik, thanks for tuning in. He's over on YouTube. David K, let's fucking go from New Jersey, New York ports from Red Trucking. Thanks for tuning in as always. Robert Peterson's don't allow people like Xavier. Come on, man. Whitney Young's watching over on YouTube too, man. Good fucking morning. He's got that American flag in that comment. Love seeing it out there. Lance Bouchard, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining in. He says, let's go. Let me see. Nikolai, I appreciate that, man. I try. The name is everything. I try. Zachary Lonergan, he says, good morning, Freight Coach World. If you have any questions about VHub, yeah, hit up my man, Zach, too. Zach's a part of that. All right, you guys, we are going to go up and do a lane analysis here. Chris Brewer in the house to the fucking moon, baby. He's with River City Logistics, you guys. They are a top-notch organization out there. There's definitely somebody who I would want to work with. All right, random city to random city lane analysis here. Reefer freight out of Raleigh, North Carolina, going out to Dallas, Texas. This is surprisingly a power lane, it looks like, because there is a ton of data on this one. And it's also held pretty firm on the pricing over this. So again, I look at a 90-day freight cycle. I think it's very telling on how a lane will perform based off of the last 90 days. I remove holidays from that equation as well, because when you pull a 90-60 in a 30-day freight cycle, you can see the peaks and the valleys. Because, I mean, we're damn near 90 days away from a holiday at any point in time. So you can pull that stuff out. So it was at 190 a gallon or 190 a mile back 90 days ago. It spiked up to 195 and it stayed at 193 between 195 and 193 a mile between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And then it started to dip again here. So over the last 15 days, it dropped down to 190. And then it's recently down to $100.85 a mile out there. So again, that to me, if you're looking at that lane didn't have a big fluctuation. Yes, it spiked about 10 cents over the holidays there. Rightfully so. Most of them do. But at the 90-day mark and to the recent mark, that lane has held pretty firm on this. So if I was going out there, I would try and lock in that price, because I don't think there's going to be very much high jumps or drops on that at all. So I would hold firm on that for at least the next 30 days. I think, I've talked about this pretty extensively on this show about what my thoughts are on how the freight market is going to perform early this year. So again, if you're a customer, I would feel comfortable locking this in. And heck, if you can get a little bit more money from a driver friends, get your money. But I'm just saying, like, this is what I would expect. And this is how I would price it if I was moving reefer freight on this lane. Again, I drop a lot of sarcasm on here, so I'm only basing this off of the 3 full truckloads I've moved in the entirety of my career. But again, I'm being sarcastic there. Let me see. Nikolai says, when you're looking at freight pricing, any other tools you guys can recommend outside of DAT Rate View and rate analysis? Man, I personally use, I use DAT Rate View a lot. I think it's one of the most accurate tools if you know how to read it properly. I personally think that. I also, I use a lot of historical internal data as well. And if I need, I get a feel for the market. I don't go out there and post ghost loads on load boards. I will make outbound phone calls based on freight that I will have in the future. And I will build up a carrier base on that, because again, I want to find carriers that want to haul these lanes specifically. I don't want to throw it out there and become a backup lane because again, these carriers got a business to run. At the end of the day, they have freight that they need to move. And I want to find carriers that align with my customer's book of business. And I think that will be the most accurate pricing you could ever get, because a lot of it's a guess, man. It's an educated guess based off of volume on the loads. But again, I think the best feedback you can ever get is by making outbound phone calls to carriers. And again, you can't have the data in front of you, have the information in front of you, and build up a carrier base. Cameron Lisk, what's up? He says, good morning, everyone. All right. He's over on YouTube. Dude, YouTube's blowing up. I love it. I'm trying to just expand my reach out there, you guys. With that being said, all the articles I break down, I put the links to the articles over on the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay, which will be available on iTunes and Spotify almost immediately after the show. But if you guys do go over there, do your boy a solid. Subscribe, share the show, rank the show as you can, because that stuff all really helps you guys, because that's how it reaches more and more of your network. Because at the end of the day, you guys, if you guys see value in this, your network's going to see value in this as well. All right, just smashing my coffee, Black Rifle Coffee. If you ever hear this, hit your boy up. Sonny Sharma, carrier partnerships is one of the most important things. Sonny, it is. And it's like, I might go off on a little bit of a rant here, but I've seen this consistently over the last couple of years on social media. It's only talked about when it's fucking convenient for the person. These are those moments that you need to abide by real carrier partnerships, because again, as I'm building up my brokerage, and I talked about this, but I'm using this as an example. I just completed a 50 load project that I used 3 total trucking companies on. 3. All right. And 85% of that was done with 2 of those trucking companies. That's how I have found the most success as a freight broker, day in and day out, is by developing and building a carrier partnership based off of the lanes they want to run, not the lanes I want them to run for me. Because again, the whatchamacallit is, that's why they'll eventually fall off and stuff, because it's like, it might be convenient for them short-term, but long-term, they need specific lanes. Again, talk to a trucking company, you guys, have an actual conversation with them. Now, this isn't everybody, but again, if you do that, that's where the secret sauce is in brokerage. Right there is when you can go out there and get a carrier base built up based off of the lanes they want to run. And then you prospect based on that. All right. Again, if you need, like, go back to my YouTube channel, I have a ton of videos out there about building your carrier base, selling in a niche, and doing all of that. So check it out, you guys. Jason Morrow, let's fucking go, coach, go Birds. Jason, as much as, dude, I love Philadelphia sports fans. The fact that you guys went to, what's his face's brother, the Bosa brother, and you guys were talking shit to him, man, Philly fans, fucking hilarious. Respect, man. You guys don't break character at all. Papa Bear and Chair, YouTube finally start posting shorts daily. They're pushing their short form content a lot this year. I appreciate that heads up, man. And I'm working on that, dude. I'm a startup, so it's like I'm trying to put my efforts towards a lot of that. And as I grow out my media team, which I'm in the process of building my my media team in here, where we're going to be able to take care of all of that. But I appreciate that heads up. All right, let's get into some articles here. First article, ttnews.com. Trucking M&A expert does not expect a slowdown. The market for mergers and acquisitions in trucking is poised to stay robust, but could undergo some changes, an expert said. Based on our activity, we do not see things slowing down at all. And that's Spencer Tenney said that. He's CEO at Tenney Group. And what we do see is some evolving as it relates to value and structure. The trucking industry has seen robust acquisition activity throughout the coronavirus pandemic. High freight demand, low interest rates, capacity shortages, and incentives to diversify created an ideal environment for buyers and sellers. And I think the general position from banks right now is going to be conservative. I think buyers will, I think buyers will still be pretty aggressive, so they'll just have to package the deals in a different way. And he added that don't assume that there's going to be a huge dive in value. I think that what we're going to see is just an evolution of structure and how deals get done, but there's going to be a ton of deals that get done. I personally think that M&A is going to increase exponentially this year. I think that a lot of companies are, again, and you see this in most market downturns, is again, some companies are just over it. And then they just want to get rid of it. The owner wants to sell and nobody in their family wants to take it over or anything like that. So they get rid of it. The same thing adversely happens in a high market is they get top dollar for their acquisition, their equipment, and everything, and then they offload. So I think, though, that there's going to be more realistic evaluations out here this year as the market calms down, because as I talked about, all the uncertainty and everything that was going on out there is that there were some sky high valuations from some companies, which, again, I'm not an investment banker, so I can't tell you what they were worth, but it seemed like they were worth a lot more than what they actually are. So with that being said, I think the acquisition numbers are going to be smaller from a monetary standpoint, but I don't see the volume of it going down. I think that you're going to see, I broke down this article a couple of weeks ago, but a company like Warner had a piss pile of cash on hand. I could see Warner continue to aggressively acquire companies this year. That's just my assumption. I don't know any inside anything. That's just my guess based off of reading their earnings report and one of the articles that I broke down recently. Back to the article, though, I think that we're going to see creative buyers and sellers just working around that, using assumption of fleet debt, which has better, more favorable terms in the current market, and using that as an instrument to work around to mitigate costs that don't add value to buyers or sellers. In fact, Tenney sees a shift away from large fleets pursuing deals. Interesting what I just said there. While there was activity among big companies over the last year, he sees those carriers getting more selective. You're just not going to see as many of them. I think there's going to be interest, but the built-in constraints may limit what can happen. These carriers may instead turn to complementary businesses. I think there's going to be a tremendous interest to go after elite platform brokerages and other types of things that expand capabilities. Plus, some of this year's activity will be spillover deals held up from the last year. I think we'll still see buyers narrow their focus on these deals. Let me see. I think that there's going to be a significant amount of deals done, just probably more small deals they're talking about. And then since 2017, Knight Swift it has invested $1.6 billion in acquisitions, and making acquisitions remain a high priority in our strong cash flow, yada, 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 that's going on out there. I personally, I think that you're going to see a lot of it, but like what they're talking about, I think it's just going to be a lot smaller numbers. I personally, this is just my gut. This is just my absolute gut feeling. There will be a very large digital broker sold this year. I don't know who, I don't know to whom, but I have a aching suspicion that a very large digital broker, whether it be a digital forwarder or an actual transactional broker, will be sold this year. That's just my gut. Let me see. And that article, you guys, is from TT News. Trucking M&A expert does not expect a slowdown, which again, I think again is very telling to the freight market and what a lot of these analysts are seeing out there is if they're not slowing down on purchasing their stuff, that means that they're seeing enough data that says that the rebound and the uptick will happen at some point. Again, I'm not going to sit here and use a freaking, a crystal ball. I've said it enough that I think that at some point this year, the rebalance will be a thing. EV purchases, Nathan says they love bending the knee. Possibly, man. I don't know. Dude, I don't know. I think that the EV thing, I'm not going to call it a fad because it will be a rollout. I just think that it's very much dependent upon the administration that is in office on who pushes fossil fuels and who pushes alternative energy. Because again, over these last couple of years with the previous administration, wasn't a lot of talk of EV out there at scale. And then with the current administration, there's obviously a lot of it in green energy and everything else. So I think it's very much administration dependent at that point. All right. Next article. My friends over at the JOC, US LTL carriers look past downturn by expanding for next rebound. This is written by my man, Bill Cassidy. The U.S. economy, I say we're in a recession, but maybe heading towards when they say. And but many companies hauling less than truckload freight are preparing for an economic rebound that is at least months away. Pitt, Ohio on Monday added 32 next day lanes to and from New York State from its core to mid-Atlantic territory. The Pittsburgh-based regional carrier last year acquired Teals Express. Shout out to Andrew Teal, not a part of the Teals Express, but just a buddy of mine. A smaller New York-based LTL carrier. Estes Lines opened one of the largest terminals in its nationwide network last week, a 203-door, facility in Arlington, Texas, which is near Dallas-Fort Worth. The Richmond-based LTL carrier will soon open a new terminal in its hometown and expects to open a third facility in Southern Cal. Many other LTL carriers are on the move as well, adding services and facilities at a time when they might be expected to circle their trailers and around their terminals. The uptick may not materialize until the second half of 2023, but trucking executives see it coming. You'd be hard-pressed to go back and find any other pricing cycle where you went from peak to in longer than 18 months, said David Jackson of Knight Swift. We're already 12 months into this. Again, very telling. But, I think that LTL is such a core component of this industry that I'm not surprised by any of this activity. I'm not surprised by the overall reinvestment of it. I personally think that LTL is only going to grow. And that has everything to do with consumer purchasing. I think that with Amazon being what it is and all major retailers doing final mile, white glove, same day, fucking you name it, there's going to be a higher and higher demand for LTL providers out there. Again, if you're building your book of business, I think this is a great thing to get into, is selling that service and getting to know it. I just think that as things progress, I think that LTL is going to be a bigger player than it currently is based off of consumer purchasing. And then again, I think that realistically, and like I've talked about, the hub and spoke model for the distribution network, I think is going to be the reality for a lot of transportation here coming up in the next, in the foreseeable future, because I just don't see like I've said, long haul trucking isn't going to go away per se, but long haul trucking, there isn't going to be as much of a need for it. Like you're not going to need to bring something from Miami to Seattle when you can just pull it out of a fulfillment center in Memphis or Atlanta or something like that. So I would definitely take that into consideration on how you're prospecting. Again, I think that coupling that together with full truckload sales is that 300 mile or less freight is like the biggest pain point for most people, for most shippers. So as you're getting out there and trying to build your book of business up, look into that and go with that. Build your book of business based off of regional and local freight. There's a lot of need for that. It also goes into fighting for freight. That slowdown doesn't mean that the market is less competitive. You have to do more for the same amount of money, and don't even dream of coming in with premium price increases. Amen, Chris Jamroz, who's the executive chairman of Roadrunner. Taking a second look at their providers if they're using it in the past, and then consolidation of core carriers to a small numbers. Shippers are doing their due diligence. Some are taking the strategy of not bidding business out to test the market with others to ensure prices remain the same. However, the top 25 carriers, which control 92% of the U.S. LTL market, increased their collective number of terminal doors 2% in the same period. So think about that right there. See, and this is why, after I broke down that deregulation article, this is why I'm a fan of it, because in LTL, the top 25 carriers control 92% of the market. Like, that is insane to me. Like, that is insane. That's why I love full truckload. That's why I love that 97% of the market is controlled by 20 truck or less operations. We don't need conglomerates to come in and control everything, because I personally think less competition leads to higher prices. I personally do. Like, I think if there's 5 trucks, like, and I'm not saying like, oh, they're going to like happen to only raise it a little bit. It's going to be price fixing at its fucking finest. That's all it's going to be. I don't think it's going to drive competition. I think if anything, it's going to fuck everyone over long term. That's why I am a fan of having the free market work in the way that the free market does, because if you're good at what you do, you will be rewarded. If you're shitty at what you do, you will be taken care of for that. So again, I personally think that the more competition, the better. I think it keeps people honest and fair. And that's why I'm a fan of it. But that article, you guys, it's a good article, and it's very telling about where the industry is from the LTL perspective. I'm a massive fan of the JOC and everything that Bill Cassidy and Eric Johnson and Ari all write about. And yeah, and Kathy Morrow, she's great too. Follow them, you guys, on social media. Now, last article is, I just threw this one in here because I thought it was kind of funny. Freightwaves.com, California's loss is Texas's gain. that is like the most accurate headline for these last couple of years. Tender volumes originating in Texas are 42% higher than what they were in January. In sharp contrast, California's freight demand is 17% below. This is a clear example of supply chain shifting, but is it long term? My guess is yes. As long as California continues to be the dumpster fire that it is from a policy perspective in regards to transportation, I'm not talking about anything else. We talk about freight on this show. They are anti-small business in California, hell, they're even anti-large business. That's why all of these companies are moving and shifting operations to Texas because of the tax structure, because of the business policies that are in place. So I'm not surprised by this. And then furthermore, again, when it comes to like the imports and stuff, companies have found that it is clearly more efficient to shift it up and ship it through the port of Houston than it is to go through LA. That's why New York, New Jersey is record highs. That's why the East Coast ports are record highs, because of what happened over these last couple of years. There was a massive drop out there. And then on top of that, when you're removing capacity from the market, you are not helping anything. So I personally think that this is something that is going to remain. I think Texas is going to continue to grow. And I think other states that are pro small business, especially in a industry that is primarily small business, I think that's where a lot of this freight is going to shift. I'm not going to say California is going to go away or anything like that, because it's not. It's like the 5th largest economy in the fucking world if you separated it from the United States. But I personally think that you're going to start seeing more and more of that. I don't think that this is going to go away. I don't foresee companies going back to the state of California to start doing business unless there's some drastic policy changes out there in regards to small businesses in the state of California and the ports operating. They're going to have to go through and roll through a couple more cycles to show that what happened during the pandemic doesn't happen again if there's ever an increase out there. So again, I don't see this going away. Let me see. Partially turning. S&P Global said only 40% partially returning to California. Yeah. And then also talking about nearshoring in here. Again, I know nearshoring means, going to Mexico, essentially, is what they're saying, and then bringing some manufacturing back here to America. But that's what I'm all about, is bringing manufacturing jobs and jobs back to America and employing people. Because I don't buy into the narrative that there's a shortage of people who want to work. I think there's a shortage of people who want to put up with the bullshit and not work for a purpose. I believe in capitalism. I believe in responsible capitalism, though. And I believe in bringing jobs back here to America, because I think that would alleviate a lot of the issues that we have experienced over these last couple of years. And again, bringing stuff down to Mexico as well. Hell of a lot less transit time that you can get by bringing stuff up across the border and everything that comes along with it. But again, I'm always about bringing jobs to America first and foremost, and making those jobs here and bringing them back here, bringing manufacturing back here, and taking care of ourselves before we go out and take care of anybody else. Again, I want to help everybody as much as the next guy out there. I truly do. But we got to make sure our citizens, our jobs, our country are secure first before we can give back in that regard. But again, I see every side of the coin. So before anybody comes and talks about the jobs that you can bring to I get all of that. But I think that there's some core things that we need to bring back here. And I want to see manufacturing brought back here. I mean, talk to the Rust Belt up in Cleveland and in Pittsburgh and fucking New York, upstate New York and stuff. Look at like all the manufacturing's gone from there for the most part. So again, I want to see that back. I love that stuff. But that's it for today, you guys. That article is from Freight Waves, and the title of that is California's Loss is Texas's Gain. But that's it, you guys. The Freight Coach Morning Show. As always, all the links will be posted up here with the replay. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some more industry headlines. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.